Greetings all. Meet a new driver and car for the 2025 sprinting season with MSCA and TSLA, of course. I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you.
Electronic door on your shed back.
Yeah, and we take things for this granted in 2024, but
anyway, this is Danny.
Yep.
And Danny has got certainly my first favourite car. And you know what? I'm less embarrassed to say anything that it is my favourite car nowadays, because they're certainly getting a resurgence. Let's go and step in there, but Danny, so to get you out of the sun. So yeah, Danny, tell us a bit about your story with this. With this car.
This is something I wanted to have as a kid growing up back in the 70s, watching the likes of Per Eklund and Terry Cabey and Tony Pond driving these things was something I loved, because they looked different and they sounded completely different to your Escorts and your Talbot Sunbeams and your Vauxhall Chevettes, which ran Lotus engines, apart from the Ford, obviously. And
which were all good sounding engines.
Oh, they did sound good. I'm not knocking them at all. But this was different.
Yes.
For today at Abingdon on the banks of the sleepy River Thames, BL's Special Tuning Division, once a home for the great European rally-winning Healey's and the diminutive but potent Minis which followed them, is now home for Britain's most powerful rally cars, the 3.5-litre V8-engined Triumph TR7s.
So what's your background then? You're obviously speaking from a
automotive engineering.
Right.
I learned from my dad. He worked in the British Leyland tuning department in Cowley and was involved with the Works Minis with Rayno Altonen and Paddy Hopkirk.
Oh, well, we can see where the you don't
that's
fall,
where the passion
don't fall far from the tree. Yeah?
And that's where the passion came from. And indeed, our very first rally car was a Mini Cooper S back in Ireland. And my dad financed it for me, but I had to do all the work. So I had to learn how to work on stuff, and hence my passion for British Leyland cars.
Absolutely.
So they say, led me to ending up with this beauty. And when it's going, it is an absolute weapon to drive. It's really incredibly difficult to drive on gravel.
Right.
Because it's just got too much grunt.
Right.
And wheel spin, I mean, you look at the throttle pedal and you break into wheel spin. The last event that we went and did last month, we went down there and we just couldn't figure out why we were so slow. So then we started picking a higher gear and using less revs, and the thing started to behave itself a bit, and we ended up quite quick on the last couple of runs, purely simply by changing up the gear and just using the bottom end of the rev range rather than the top end of the rev range. Because the cam, well, it's a Crane cam from the UK, and the cam comes in at about $2.5 grand, and it'll just rev and rev and rev and rev. And I haven't revved it past 8.5 because I don't blow the leg thing up, but it just keeps going.
Wow.
And I haven't cleaned under the bonnet, because and being a fiberglass bonnet, it's quite easy to get off, because normally the bonnets hinge forward.
Yes.
But this is as the original Works cars were, with a pair of Webers on the V8. And a lot of the stuff has been custom made, obviously, because you can't just buy it. It's very scruffy. Apologies for how dirty it is under here.
No.
But everything has been made down to the power steering, because the car didn't have power steering.
Right, okay.
And with all the Subaru bits and pieces I had lying around, I thought, I've got all this stuff sitting here. I might as well utilise it.
So where does that come into play with regard to competition? And you know,
those freedoms that exist with this classic car don't include stuff like your suspension pickup points have to be the same. You can't change those. The engine block and the engine has to be a Leyland 3.5 litre, which it is. It's got the Offenhauser manifold, which the original cars had, the Lynx adapter, and the Webers, the alternator, power steering is Subaru, because I had a quick ratio steering rack.
Right.
And this thing being so tail happy because of the wheel spin, I couldn't drive it if I didn't have a quick ratio steering rack.
Right, wow.
So the steering rack gets a workout,
Yeah.
as I do.
Yes, sure.
And it's funny, when every time we get photos of this thing, it's not going in a straight line.
No, I can imagine.
It just breaks into wheel spin, and it's just awesome fun to drive. Right. And like I said, back in the 70s, watching the likes of Roger Clark and Per Eklund and Malcolm Wilson and Tony Pond driving these things.
Absolutely.
The noise is buried in my brain.
Yes.
I've got to have the V8.
Through the